guest.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. If we could have your attention. Wes is going to start the live streaming at this point. So as I like to do, I like to welcome the at least 100,000 people who are watching this on the live streaming right now and say hello to you. Also want to recognize one of my mentors in the crowd, Mr. Robert L. Bradley. Welcome, Mr. Bradley, and it's good to see you. I'm sorry that the camera can't pan to you, but there are many viewers at home that now heard that you were here.
They're turning on their sets right now.
They are. Members of the board, we have two presentations, and we do have the need for an agenda review with respect to a particular policy that you've been talking about, and I know there may be some questions or clarification, Mr. President, that you'd like to give. And then also, members of the board, at the conclusion of the voting evening this evening, I'm going to ask for an executive session for two items, of which I will detail in full and compliant nature at the correct time. So I look forward to having a good, productive meeting, and this begins with your annual audit. We have guests that I'm going to ask Becky to introduce from Drescher and Malecki. I will tell the members of the board that at 4 o'clock this afternoon, the audit committee met with Becky, Julie, and myself, and the audit committee members present did approve the Drescher and Malecki audit, of which you are now going to hear. So it was formally approved at the audit committee, but it is a resolution, I believe it's 6.02, for your vote this evening. Without any further ado, and mindful of our time, I would like to ask Ms. Holliday, who is our school business official, to do the introductions and introduce our Drescher and Malecki team.
Okay, good evening, and I'm very proud to introduce to you two members from the Drescher and Malecki auditing firm who worked on our audit. They worked together with there was also a staff member named Tina, Marcasia, and Will. And then the partner on our audit, Matt Montalvo, is unable to be here tonight. So representing our audit team is Charles Trottier and Kyle Petronic.
Thanks, Becky. Good evening. Can everyone hear me? Well, thanks for having me present the results of the audit here. This is going to serve as the conclusion of the audit season. When I say audit season, I'm saying the external audit. You guys are used to having an internal audit that reviews the certain aspects of your business. I know they've been pretty heavy on IT recently based on the presentation that I heard in the past hour, and also your claims auditors, which I know the audit committee goes pretty in-depth in every meeting. But we serve as your external auditors. We provide an opinion on these financial statements, whether they can be relied upon by your third-party users, and we are currently in draft form. We are earlier than in recent past. The business office has done a great job getting these statements and numbers ready ahead of time so we can meet the deadline and meet this earlier meeting this year. So we are in draft form. You guys have a copy of the draft in front of you, and we'll be ready to finalize an issue before the deadline by the end of this month. My name is Charles Trottier, as Becky mentioned. I was a senior manager on this audit. So skipping to the first slide here, I'm just looking at the presentation. The first slide is more quantitative. It's what we went into more detail in the last hour with the audit committee. But really just our responsibility is to issue these opinions. We are hired as a third party to be able to put that stamp of approval on these financial statements, that they can be relied upon, that they're free of bias, and that whether it be your credit agencies, which I know you're trying to go out there for a pretty expensive call to get a better rating on those bonds, or whether it be other readers, you guys decision makers, the state, the OSC. And so our first opinion is on the financial statement themselves, the numbers, that they can be relied upon. And once again this year, those financial statements are free of material misstatement. The financial position and the results of operation are fairly stated. And so we come in and we put an unmodified opinion, which is a clean opinion. It's the best opinion that a school district can receive every year. So clean opinion, free of material misstatement throughout. The second opinion is on internal controls. What that is the output, the inputs that go in the financial system. Does the district have the necessary process in place to ensure that they're going to create reliable outputs that are going to go into these financial statements? And if there were to be any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses in those controls, we'd be required to disclose them. There are no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies to report on again this year. And then the third opinion is on the uniform guidance, which is the single audit. It's the federal aid that you receive. As a school district, anyone that receives over $750,000 in grants is subject to the single audit. Once again, obviously, Niagara Falls City Schools receives well over $750,000. So on a rotational basis, we test random programs based on the risks and the dollar amounts. And this year we tested Head Start, American Rescue Plan, and the Child Nutrition Cluster, and there are no question costs, meaning that we followed the guide issued by the federal government, and all the costs and the expenditures that were incurred were in accordance with the guide. So all three opinions, clean opinions throughout, very good year for the district. The other bullets, like I said, they're more quantitative. We went into more detail with the audit committee, but everything is within the norms and parameters of how the financial statement should look like. Great job by the business office to make sure that they're in compliance with the new standards, the oversight body that issues all these guidances every year. Great job staying in compliance before the audit starts. And we are independent in fact and appearance. And the last bullet there, other matters, if there were to be any significant disagreements or if our scope was limited, we'd have to disclose those. Obviously, that did not happen. And then the last item is we're also going to issue an extra classroom activity report. That's on the cash basis of accounting. We tested a series of programs and costs and receipts, and a clean audit of extra classroom is expected as well. On the next slide, the financial activity, more the quantitative view is what I'll spend a little bit more time. Feel free to ask a question at any time and stop me. But if we turn to page 2 of the presentation here, before I go into the numbers, I just want to kind of paint the picture of just looking at that slide, which is a very positive chart. So page 2, if we, the financial, if we,
The one that has a bar graph, red and blue lines.
So the story is, eight years ago, 2014, Niagara Falls City Schools is under moderate fiscal stress, according to the OSC. We have it impacts some of the credit ratings, and the cash flow is not as positive as it is now. So the district has to go out to issue those revenue anticipation notes to wait for the state aid to come in because the cash levels aren't what they are. So when this moderate fiscal stress was designated to the district created a plan to start replenishing some of the fund balance gradually over the years. And so leading up to this chart here, leading up to pre-pandemic levels until 2019, 2020, there was a sustainable growth annually where your revenues were exceeding your expenditures. That blue line was exceeding your expenditures. And then since then, 2020 hit, the pandemic hit, costs went down, and then all of a sudden in 2021 and 2022, revenues kind of outpaced your expenditures. But those revenues outpacing your expenditures aren't the result of normal operations. They're the result of those one-time revenues that came in. $3.3 million of casino revenues, $4.5 million last year of CARES Act, $14.4 million this year of American Rescue Plan. Although that was recorded in the special aid fund, which is not covered with this graph, it took some of the costs, the expenditures from the general fund, and moved them to the special aid fund. So those expenditures are going to come back, not to the $14.4 million total, but a certain portion of that number. So these are all one-time revenues that led to revenues outpacing expenditures over the last 3 years. And in a prudent financial manner, those one-time revenues have been placed into reserves, and that's what we'll go over in the next slide. So although at the end of this year, on the far right, your blue line, your revenues were $158.5 million, your expenditures were roughly $149 million. So that difference, that gap between your revenues and expenditures this year was $9.5 million in the positive. So next we go to the next slide, total fund balance, and that's where you see that $9.5 million. Where did it go in total fund balance? It went to the red portion. your reserves. So just like New York State is pretty tough through the real property tax law, section 1318, to require school districts to maintain 4% of unassigned fund balance, it's also restrictive on how you can use those reserves that you planned for. So although you generate $9.5 million, you put that into those restricted reserves to be used for the future. And it's not only going to be used for long-term future, it's also going to be needed in the current future. We know that the retirement system, your ERS, your TRS, your pension plan, those costs are anticipated to go up based on the new bills that are coming out. The market's not doing as hot as it used to be, so we're going to have to catch up with the New York State pension system. So you're able to fund those reserves, which are going to be needed right away to pay for those bills coming due. Same goes to show with the health insurance. We know health insurance is going up. You have the ability to fund some of the reserves to pay for health insurance. That's going to be coming due in the near future as well. So this chart shows the total fund balance, and so the increase this year, the $9.5 million went into that red restricted column for reserves. The next chart there simply shows that the district is still in compliance with that 4% rule. 4% meaning you have unassigned fund balance of 4% of your total spending for the year. It actually looks at next year's spending. And why 4%? The state believes that 4% should be enough to pay for emergency costs. We know a lot of districts challenge that 4%, whereas other municipalities are able to, they don't have that rule. They feel confident at 15, 20%. So it puts a challenge on school districts to stay compliant, but this shows that the district continues to be in compliance with that 4% rule. Switching gears a little bit on the next slide, the school lunch fund. Just a slide there because we see gaps in revenues expenditures over the years, so that paints a different story. If you have students coming in and students are electing to take the meal, the reimbursement's always going to be higher than the cost, but then with the hybrid year, the COVID year that happened in 2020, 2021, where meals were being prepared but students were taking those meals, the reimbursement rate dropped, and that's why your revenues dropped in 2020, 2021. Now looking ahead, 2021, 2022, you're back to normal operations, and so it's just something to keep an eye on. And if we look at the next slide for total fund balance in the school lunch fund, we're getting to levels where we were back in 2018, 2019, where you may have to start developing a plan to spend down that fund balance again, which is what happened in 18, 19 when all the equipment was purchased. In 2020, it went back down. So just something to look forward to. And with that said, I'll take any questions that you may have now or in the future.
May I ask a question? I'd like to say this for the record. Were you free of any interference from anyone on the staff, superintendent or otherwise, during the process of your audit?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Thanks. Questions?
Any questions?
I have a couple comments, but I don't want to interrupt board members.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
So I have a couple of comments on this audit, and then I will also put these comments on the record during the public portion of the meeting. First of all, thank you, Charles, and your team. I appreciate your thoroughness, your hard work, and as Mr. Velardo notes, your speed. So we appreciate your team at Drescher. We know we have a fine company with school district audits. Secondly, this does not happen by accident. This happens because we have leadership of Becky Holliday and Julie Jacklin. They also have a team that works with them. This is team effort. They know where every single penny is, where every single dime goes, and you couldn't have better fiscal stewards leading this. That's number one. Number two, I want the viewing audience to hear this, that this firm reviewed in excess of $200 million when you add up the budget, the lunch fund, and the grants. They're not even including capital projects. $200 million. This firm is reporting to the public and to you tonight that there was not one single finding on any one of those dollars that comprise $200 million. Not one. Again, attributable to leadership like Becky and Julie. Secondly, we're not always going to have casino money coming in. That was, we don't know what's going to happen with the casino money after next year. That was kind of a bonus for us to get that lump sum. But what this board did is that when the casino withholding began, they immediately ordered us to pretend like we were never going to receive the money and never count it as revenue. And we pushed it aside. Now, we're so thankful that we received it, but we helped ourselves by having that discipline to push it aside. This board has raised taxes one time in 23 years, and I don't believe the community, but I don't want to speak for the board, will need to entertain that again. That is really good. Charles made reference to it, and as soon as Becky and Julie and I file this on October 31st, which is the deadline, if you approve it during your meeting, and it's final, I plan to arrange a call with Standard & Poor's. And you know I love this call. The reason for the call to Standard & Poor's is because I'm going to request that they move our bond rating from A to A++. And I say that for two reasons. One, because we're embarking on another capital project and may need to borrow money, and we'll have better basis points for which to borrow from. And secondly, it should be an incredible source of pride for the 9 members of this Board of Education to have a bond rating of A++ at the minimum. Thirdly, this audit comes with a couple of caveats and concerns that I want to share with the public and with the viewing audience, and I know the board knows this. They speak frequently about a financial cliff. We were the beneficiaries of the American Rescue Funds to a good tune. Those American Rescue Funds, as we told you last week in our $10 million outlay for capital projects, are going to be gone on September 30th, 2024. That money has gone away. That, despite the fact that the governor is promising full foundation aid, and despite the fact that we are on the positive side of a lawsuit against the state, should give everybody reason for pause and reason to know we need these reserves. And finally, without a lot of detail, it is publicly known that this board is dealing with, and will in more depth deal on November 10th, with 23 child victims cases. To this point, the state, the New York State Education Department has not created any fund to support those child victims cases. And as our attorneys have told you in the past, and we'll hear again, they are a concern for our financial status. So I am going to recommend acceptance of this audit during the board meeting. I want to, again, thank our staff who did all the work. I want to caution everyone that that fiscal cliff could be on its way, and that the fact that we do have some mitigating factors that we have to plan and prepare for to keep this district on good stead, not just for next year or the following year, but for the next 10 years. And I think it's set up, due to your work, board, to be good for a long, long time. I'm proud of that. Mostly, I'm proud of the staff. And I thank the board for their support of all of the financial issues and the way you handle the budget. That's, I will make some of those comments on the record after the meeting, but to get a clean opinion on all of those accounts that total nearly $20 million, $200 million, is pretty monumental in a school district like Niagara Falls. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Anything, colleagues? No one? No one, no one. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You will.
Thank you.
You will be approving this evening. Okay, Mark. Thank you.
Appreciate that, gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's an attorney. Be careful. Be very careful, Charles. Be very careful. Oh, it's a letter. Charles, you didn't get. You didn't get a summons, did
It's
you?
a bill.
All right. Be careful. Be careful when you talk to him. Keep your hands in your pockets at all times, sir. Hands in your pockets. Mr. Massaro will assume his regular position. Thank you. We have a presentation that we'd like to make to you, and I just want to set a little bit of the stage before this presentation begins, and we call on our team. We knew coming out from last year that we know this, that 2,000 student high school is not easy for every student to navigate. It just isn't easy to navigate for some students. With the number of social emotional problems and issues, it's just not an easy place. And with the security concerns and academic challenges and achievement that we're expecting, we know we have to meet students where they're at. And exacerbated by the pandemic, students came back to Niagara Falls High School and other district schools in many, many different places. So I want to introduce this by saying that in early spring of this year, talking about February, I was approached by the Niagara Falls Teachers Union, and it was their feeling that we needed to create some type of a different in-house alternative pathway. Remote learning works for a few. Remote learning is successful for a few. But the best learning that happens in our school district is in classrooms in front of teachers. So it was a collaboration between the teachers union and the then administration at Niagara Falls High School, and Ms. Villardo and Mr. Ventry joined me for meetings. And I have stated my position on the record a number of times that I'm not in favor of an alternative school off-site. So one of our non-negotiables was an alternative pathway must be in the school where the children should attend. That was a non-negotiable. The second non-negotiable was that this has to be a very non-traditional program in a non-traditional way. What do I mean by that? I mean, it doesn't mean you go to 8 40-minute periods, you go to lunch. The whole structure of a child's day needs to be different. Those were the only non-negotiables. The third was that the Board of Education had to provide the funding for it, and you did. You did. You provided support for teachers. I see a counselor here with us. I see a director here with us. We needed that support for these students. And the Board of Education said, whatever you need, and I'll quote one person, just get us results. And I'm here to tell you that joint partnership and work is not done, but it's off to a tremendous, tremendous start. Right from the name, calling it the Pathways to Excellence. You're going to hear a little bit more about that in addition to a program. But what I would like to do is, first of all, recognize that our administrative team from Niagara Falls High School is here, led by our Chief Principal, Ms. Cheryl Villardo. And I would just like Cheryl to come to the microphone to briefly introduce and then the presenters and talk a little bit about the program, and also to say on behalf of everyone, Cheryl and team and teachers, great start, really great start. Really, never perfect. We always could be better, and I know that's how you feel. But really great start, Ms. Villardo.
Thank you, and I'd like to start by thanking the board for the support of this alternative pathway. It has made a tremendous impact on how our school year has started and has been a positive to many of our students who are in the Pathways to Excellence program. So thank you, board, for your support. Thank Mr. Laurie for having the open mind and the non-negotiables that he does have, because we've got to make this good. These kids deserve it. And I'd like to thank NFT and the teachers that have partnered with us. I think that when you work together, sometimes it goes slower, but it goes better too. And I think that we are in the place that we're at now because it has been a collaborative effort. The final two people I'd like to thank, the people who really, over the summer when I was getting ready, when I was taking over the building, I felt great about everything except this. This was just undefined at the time. We had a lot of work left to do. And Mr. Ruffalo and Mr. Riley stepped in and really took on this hard work and have done a great job of getting the Pathways to Excellence program, along with their team, off to the start it's been. So I'd like to introduce Mr. Ruffalo, Nick Ruffalo, who's the administrator for the, directly oversees the Pathways program, and Mr. Tony Riley, who's our kind of day-to-day operations guy. So if they are going to take it from here and tell you more about the program.
All right. Let me just see if this comes off. All right. Yeah, we got the PowerPoint right here. All right, good evening. Nick Ruffalo, administrator at Niagara Falls High School. First off, thank you. I'd like to echo what Mrs. Velardo said. Thank you for providing the funds to support this program. I know there's a Yankees game at 7:37, so we got to get moving here.
I want to be there before the 9th inning, so go ahead.
So, the pathways, let's see, Ray, I must have to turn this on.
Mr. Billson, no wonder
Ray,
you're
can we
sitting
switch
next to
the
Mr.
slide?
Velardo.
It's not going.
No wonder you're sitting together over there.
So, again, tonight, Tony and I, we're both here tonight to kind of explain to you a little snapshot of what the Pathways to Excellence program is. Okay, so we want you to leave here tonight. You have a better knowledge. When you get asked in the community what the Pathways to Excellence program is, you'll have a good knowledge of that after this presentation tonight. So, to start, we do have 9 staff members on site. How it works, we have 4 teachers that teach the 4 core areas. We have a special education teacher, and we also have a teacher assistant that is in our program, along with our support staff. Mr. Riley's the director. Michelle Hudson is our school counselor, and she's in the back. And we have Mia Crumpton as our past member. And why I chose this picture, it says, "You belong." It was in the beginning of the school year, right in the first week of school. You know, there was a lot of students that they weren't feeling the program, right? They were just like, yeah, I don't know if I really want to be here. But Mr. Hewer, which is our social studies teacher, did a bulletin board. It's a "You belong." So he's a photographer on the side. So he brought in his camera one day and started taking pictures of the kids. You can't really see the clear picture of the kids, but this showed that, you know, you belong here. This is our school, right? And on each picture, there's a short-term goal. You got a short-term goal and a long-term goal. And I think that's kind of like how our program is. We have 99 students in the program right now. And in the next, Ray, you can go to the next slide. So how it works is, I know Tony's going to kind of explain, he wants to explain this side, but like we have 99 students, so it's a much smaller setting, right? It's like as Mr. Laurie stated, the non-traditional, no one-size-fits-all type education. And I'm going to turn this mic over to Tony because he'll talk about the next bullet points.
Thank you. How you all doing? I'm Tony Riley. All right. Glad I had the opportunity to be here before you guys today to speak to you more about the Pathways program. Thank you for your support, first of all, for the program. It's a very important program, and we are dedicated to making sure that every child that comes into our program receive the resources and the advantages to take, and the advantages of those resources that you have given. What I want to say is that the program that we are running is a unique program. It is different. One of the ways we started this program is that we had to change the language about the program. We refer to it as an alternative school. It is not that. The program that we have is an accelerated program designed to help those students that have fallen behind catch up. We're placing safeguards around those children to make sure that they have those resources that you have provided, that they are able to make up for those classes that they're falling behind that are, what's the class? Credit recovery. Yes, the credit recovery. So many of our kids we know are falling behind due to the credit recovery. So we're creating a safe place for those kids to be able to come into the school, make up those classes, and get back up to par for graduation. Also, we offer flexible scheduling. I apologize. I'm a little nervous speaking in front of you guys. All right.
Wait till the questions come.
Absolutely. All right. Flexible scheduling. We want to make sure that we're able to touch and put our hands on every student. We know that a traditional classroom has not worked, as we mentioned earlier, so smaller classroom sizes in times that fit. We have 30-minute classes for our students, where our teachers are able to provide more of an engaging lesson for their success. Wellness and mental health counseling. What we have determined is that many of our kids are coming to school with trauma that we are, for the most part, may be unprepared to service. So we are evaluating and trying to figure out what services are available to us outside of our school so that we can make sure that those kids are connected to those services. We've also created community partnerships, those new partnerships as well as those existing partnerships that exist with Niagara Falls High School, so that we can ensure that our kids, again, have access to those available partnerships and resources.
And I could just touch upon, like, as he was saying, the wellness and the mental health counseling. So as you're aware that we have contracts with, I can't think of the name, but Dr. Thomasina Cook comes in to our program once a week, and she works with our, mental health counseling. Michelle Hudson is in the back. Her door is always closed because there's always a student in there all day long, right? So she's meeting with kids one-on-one daily. And with 99 students, we're able to do this. We're able to get these services that the kids need. And if she needs to refer them to, Dr. Cook, we're able to do that. And I believe we're going to have another day where Dr. Cook's going to be coming into the school, and we're going to have more time, so more kids will be serviced. And as Tony mentioned, the community partnerships. As you are aware, F-Bites. Like, we already had our first group of kids that went to F-Bites this week. We had 3 girls that went to F-Bite Cantina. Cantina group. The McGuire group's going to be starting next week. Fight night. Today we registered 14 kids to go to social emotional learning through boxing, right? Our kids enjoy these activities. So we created this program because, again, our program is only 3 hours, 2 hours and 2.5 hours for the kids. So they're done at noon. But our job for the afternoon is to make sure they're going to Cantina. They have a purpose, right? There's an internship that they're going to. We're creating, CNA positions through the McGuire group. There's healthcare positions. Through the hospital, we're trying to set up a program where they're going to get trained, as Mr. Laurie likes to do. When you graduate high school, you not only get the diploma, but you could also have a CNA certificate. And I know a guy that might need a CNA soon, right? At the hospital, they're always short.
Is that St. Mary's?
St. Mary's, yeah.
All right, that's right.
St. Mary's Hospital, yeah. So these are just some of the small, things that we're able to do because we have such a unique program, right? 99 kids, it's a school within a school right now. And the kids, like I said, at first, I don't know if I really like this program. The third week, but guess what? Right now we're starting to turn the page, right? We're starting to turn the page. You'll see in the next couple slides, we do have some data to show, because I know Mr. Petrosi, you like results, right? So we brought some results to the table. It is short term, but we take.
They all like results, but, like you take your shirts in, you want them cleaned on time, right? Get them back on time. Results like that. Or get lost, right?
Yeah, definitely one of the things we don't want to be lost is the impact that this program has been having on the culture of the school.
That's a good point.
And one of the things that teachers have been saying to Nick and I, especially with me being new to the district, is that I'm glad you're here. And what has happened is that what we have done is take those children who have caused the uproar, and we've given them an opportunity to be successful, but it has allowed those teachers in the main buildings now to do what they're paid to do, and that's teach. And we're having enormous success not only in our program, but I'm sure many of our other teachers are having that same level of success as well.
It's true, and it's true. It has a ripple effect through the other building. And I want to just make a couple points before you go to the next slide. I think you're underplaying the persuasiveness you had to have with a number of parents. There were a number of parents that were very reluctant, and kids who were very reluctant. And I think what these two gentlemen had to do was use their power of persuasion and their promise of delivery of a different product to encourage their students to come. The second point I wanted to make before you move on is that if you flash to that slide, I just want to give Ms. Massaro a compliment, because she despite many challenges in staffing, she filled every single position that you approved. And I know that was a lot of work to do. So you saw the robust number of staff members we've contributed. And finally, before you move on, when we had initial talks, we were in the range of 70 to 75 students. They're taking on 100 kids. And that may not seem like a big difference, but 25 students makes a big difference. That's why the need was so great. So kudos on 25 more than I had set as an expectation. Kudos on persuasiveness that is an intangible that you have but could not put on a slide. Because I know those phone calls could have come to me and they didn't. So congratulations.
Just so I can make a reference in my head, where is it housed in the school? Is it Tower 1 through 3 or 4? Or
All right, we're on the first floor in
said-
House 3.
first floor, house 3?
Yeah, House 4, House 4, House 4.
House 4? So HSR?
You weren't in that house, Earl. Don't throw back terms. You were with me. I had to keep an eye on you.
Last year was the former BOCES wing, right? We had the BOCES wing down there. So that was what we had to get through the first 2 weeks. I'm not going down the BOCES wing.
So there was a lot of pushback. Yeah, there was a lot of pushback.
That was realistic. So, but yeah, it's right down the 140 wing. We use our own entrance, door 7 in the building. Our own entrance, our own exit. The buses pick up, the kids get dropped off. So, it makes a smooth entrance, smooth exit. We come in we come in at 9:30. Our time is 9:30. So there's 2 sessions, 9:30 to 12:15, and then 1 o'clock to 3:45. So the Janet building comes in at 7:50. They leave at 2:30. So we're just, in our bell schedule, it's a controlled movement. Our kids don't stay in the class for 2.5 hours. We do have 4 periods. So, but they're 4 30-minute periods, and they're controlled. Mr. Riley's out there every time the bell's about to ring for PTE. We have all of our teachers in the hall, and they transfer class just like the regular building. But again, there's only 45 and 4, because there's 2 sessions, right? So we got 45 in the morning and 45, 50 in the afternoon. So those kids, they transfer classes, just so you get a visual. If they're not, original plans over the summer, there was, we were gonna keep kids in the class, like for 2.5 hours. And I'm like, I can't sit still for 20 minutes, let alone 2.5 hours of education.
And I definitely want to share with you another data point real quick before we get started, is that we have not had one fight. And that might not seem like anything major, but that is major. That is major.
It's like a no-hitter.
And I have informed the students of this, and I have shared with them that this is the goal.
Right.
No fights, limited suspensions. As far as I'm concerned, our goal is less than 5%, because I want to be realistic. Can we keep a suspension rate less than 5? Yes. Can we keep it less than 3? Yes. It's important that these kids be in school, because if they're not in school, then they're out here in the community and committing crimes, or at least have the opportunity. So we want to make sure that when those students are in our building, that we're able to hold on to them as long as possible. Now, we just implemented in-school suspension. And that is that I understand that the kids are going to make mistakes, but I can't allow them to stay at home and do nothing, because they're not going to do the work. They're not going to work remotely. So I had to find those other ways to keep the kids in the school and still keep learning moving forward. So I'm proud to say that no fights, and we only had 1 suspension. Or is it 2? We only had 2 suspensions at this point in time. And 5 weeks, that's excellent. Yeah.
Do you anticipate branching out with this, your subject matter, your ability to keep kids, get them back on a faster track, back to learning, catching up where they're behind? Have you ever, I see you have F-Bites working in this thing. Have you ever thought about reaching out maybe to some other folks and maybe having the kids maybe for a small session working with their hands, maybe something that they can do, what I do for a living. Tony, I'm an electrician, but, something along those lines where maybe this can go a little.
Just so you're aware, like Mr. Laurie stated, this is a school within Niagara Falls High School, so the benefits are they receive coming down. We did reach out to the trades, the union hall.
Okay.
I believe Mr. Pellegrino. So we are going to be working our kids into the union halls too.
And that's one of the great things about our program is the flexibility. That we're able to do things for these group of kids that we possibly couldn't do for 2,000 other children.
right.
So,
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, when you're suspended at your home, like you said, you're not getting nothing.
absolutely.
You're not gonna do the work, and what I try to do when I coach football, what I try to do is I'm trying to get these kids thinking a little bit different.
Absolutely.
Not every one of them, my players are gonna be going to college. And I'm trying to steer them because there's such a demand right now, and the money is so nice to make when they leave high school. You know, I mean, he knows, we've all, this whole board, we've been trying to now push now for the last few years. But, you know, as another 6 months go, I just retired a carpenter Friday, and I don't know if I'm gonna get another one.
We'll
I
get
want it, but, you know.
We'll get you one. You have some statistics here?
So this is just the demographics
Right.
of our program. Like I said, we have 99 students that are enrolled in our program. We still have about 12 kids in the program that are no-shows. So, but we do have a team. Like I said, our team is constantly making phone calls, you know, using Ron Cunningham to reach out to these families to see where our students are. So we do have 99 students enrolled. You can see the demographics, it's very diverse. 42% African-American, 25% white. I mean, I don't have to read all the numbers, you see that up there.
But also, one of the things that we're also doing differently is that I, as the program director, am going to these kids' homes. So I believe that it's important that they see leaders in the schools actively saying, you need a ride to school. What can I do to assist you? Calling the parents and having that conversation about how important school is and that we're going the extra mile. Now, do I expect Ms. Velardo to get in the car and go pick a student up? Absolutely not.
I do. No, I'm kidding, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
But-
I'm kidding.
But I
Kidding.
do know she drops them off at home.
Kidding, it's a joke. I'm kidding.
Right.
Give her a bus.
Go ahead, Ray.
All right, so our attendance data, this is through 5 weeks for our program. It's based on grade level. As you can see, our 9th graders are coming. We've got 76% of our 9th graders coming. 10th grade, we've got about 79%. 11th grade, 66%, and 12th grade, 69%. I want to say we're at about 75% attendance rate. And again, you got to take into consideration, we do have 12 kids that are on our no-show list, so the attendance rate's actually higher.
They counted into it, okay.
Yeah, we counted it into it. And just so you're aware, we talked about the interventions.
The no-show kids, are these kids not coming, or they've moved out of the district, or you just don't know where they're at?
You have to show up at our school. They're here.
Okay, I didn't know if they moved they may have moved out of town or moved someplace, you know?
We do have a couple that, like I said, like we do a weekly meeting and we have a spreadsheet of our attendance, behaviors, you know, and no shows. And then we have Ms. Crumpton, which is our past member, and she does a list of these interventions. Mr. Riley, as he stated, he went to his house and made sure they came to school. He picked them up. I met a kid at Tim Hortons 2 weeks ago. Like it's just things that we do, right, to try and get kids to come to school. He said he was going to come the next day, he came the next day, but then he didn't come back. So it's,
Okay, Ray.
I'm not gonna lie. So,
Of those 12, have they showed up? I mean, of the 12, how many have come or, you know,
that's no show, those are just
we've never seen them?
Well, that's not totally correct. We actually have one student who just reported. He came in with his mother, and we sat down and we had a conversation. He came the first day, and then he just disappeared.
So we have 11.
So we have 11.
But why, and I don't know the answer to this, why are we counting them if they never show?
still on our roster, they're still part of our school. Our job is to get them to come to school.
Are they here though, or do we?
They were previous students. It's just-
No, negative, are they, meaning, rephrase, are they here in town, do we know?
Well, I was made aware that one or two of the students had relocated to Buffalo, But we are in the process of trying to verify whether that is true or not.
Once we get transcripts from another, or transfer requests.
But what, right, no, I understand that, but what are our options? Now, this is November, not blaming us, but there's, parents have some responsibility here, I would think.
Absolutely.
Well, we do, there's CPS, we call it child protection services. I mean, we have a whole list of interventions that we go through, right? Versus the home, you make a phone call. Second is the home visit. The third is you call Mr. Cunningham, he goes out. Fourth is we still have no answer, we're calling child protection services. I mean, it's just, out of 2,000 kids, you know, there's going to be kids that are no-shows.
No, I appreciate that, but do any of the other students, I mean, anyone know, does anyone know Joe?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
we have done our homework, we do our research. It's just a matter of trying to find these. Absolutely.
Question, maybe some of the other staff, how many students have not shown up for Niagara Falls High School in the regular?
We can get you a number. How about we can take
You're just curious, that's all, it doesn't,
It's not a uniquely PTE issue. It's moved and they don't register, we have to hunt them down and try to get, or schools, they're attending someplace else. And other states and other schools don't always follow the same procedures. We haven't gotten records requests, and we haven't officially transferred them yet, so we're still working.
But guess what? They're on our graduation cohort.
that's where I was
And
going, Mark.
until we find out, get a transcript, or can with great comfort transfer them to their place, they start to contribute to less than 100% graduation rate.
Well, Mark,
Now-
that's where I was
Yeah,
going
yeah.
at that absentee
Yeah.
rate.
Yeah.
We're
Now-
figuring 12 zeros in there.
Right. Now, the good news is, in the last 4 years, they've reduced the debt rate from 25% to what was 7% last year. So I'm going to guess it's going to hover between 4 and 7% now. And as I said, if we can't find those, let's pretend it's 7%, the highest graduation rate we could ever have is 93%. So it is imperative that, we spend all of our resources driving to Tim Hortons or Buffalo and identifying where they're at so that we can get that down to 0% and keep them in school. Because our goal is to get 100% graduation rate. Realistically, I'd like to see a 9 in front of it very soon. I think you're going to see a really good number this year, but we've got to hunt them down. This is behavioral.
Well, this is basically what we call our wins through the first 5 weeks. I just wanted to highlight some students. If you look at this slide, it's all color coded, so it's student A, B, C, and D, and the reasons why they were in the program. So student A, for example, was a male student, a behavior issue in the 21-22 school year. So if you look at the top, math, science, English, and social studies, in red is the 21-22 grade through the first 5 weeks of school, okay? And you look through 22-23 in the black, that's the grade in this current market period. So if you look at student A, right, in the blue, he had a 63 in math through the first 5 weeks. This year he's got an 88. He had a 27 in science, now he has an 85 through the first 5 weeks. 83 in English last year, 94 this year. 64 in social, and 90 this year. So then we look at the bottom piece, and that's where is it like behavior incidents, attendance coming to school, and missed classes, right? Student A again, right? Last year at this point, through 5 weeks of school, he had 4 incidents. This year, 1. Okay, last year missed 3 days of school during the school day, or during the school year through 5 weeks. This year, only 1. This is where it's, this is important. Last year, again, Niagara Falls High School is large, right? So they met through 5 weeks of school, there was 43 missed classes. Now that's missed classes. Now the reason, let's go into the reason. Let's not just say, last year was a different year to start the school year, correct? We didn't have the same resources that we had this year too. We didn't have a program that's able to contain our children, which is these students, right? This year we're at 0. Why? Just because it's one hallway, it's controlled, right? So these are just some of the results I just wanted to point out
let me just share a little bit on that particular student, because he came into the school with a representative from the NAACP. And Nick and I met with her, the student and the mother, and she was enraged about how she felt the school was mistreating her child. So when we sat down there and we started talking about the PTE program and the benefits of this program to her child, it took a minute. It wasn't easy. And it took, matter of fact, I could say the rest of the night. Because after the mother went home, the conversation continued on. So by the time we came to some resolution, it was probably about 10 o'clock at night. And the student said, Mr. Riley, so many people have made promises to me at Niagara Falls High School and never kept their word to me. I said, this is going to be different. I'm going to give you my word, and I'm going to keep it. And he said, Mr. Riley, I'm going to trust you. And I said, that's all I ask, is that you trust me. And I said, and these are certain things I need you to do when you come into this building. I need you to come in here prepared and ready to learn. And he has done that. He has stepped up, he's come into class. And one of the things that I'm so proud of this young man about is for him reaching out and saying, Mr. Riley, I want to go to college. I want to go to college.
What do you have here? What are these note sticks here?
Yeah, these are just student notes. We got student notes here. Just like I said, every morning we kind of start off with like something social emotional learning. So one in the morning, you know, what do you like about the PTE program? And these are just student notes. Like one's at the top left, it says, I like that it helped me learn better. I'm not around a big crowd of people that will keep me unfocused. It's all right. I like it. Okay. Another student, I want to say one was, we don't allow cell phones, right? We don't allow the cell phones for our kids. So she was like, oh, I like it. At first, like I said, that was a little battle, but you know, now it's okay. Again, it's a small program, so we're able to handle that. In a large setting, you know, it's good. So, all right.
All right, so now we're going to move on to the Men of McNair, which is a mentoring program that we would like to bring into the school to assist us with our work at PTE. What we know is that many children, when they leave the schoolhouse, are at risk once they re-enter the community. So we know that the longer that we hold on to these children, that they fall out of that range of being a statistic of students who get in trouble with the law. So what we're looking to do is to bring a community program, but also a school program that is designed to provide mentorship to many of the young men and women within the school. If you look at the handout that I've given you, I started it with a recommendation from the district attorney of the District of Columbia, Carl Racine. I started this program back in 2014 in Atlanta, and the program expanded last year to Washington, D.C. And we were able to take on many of the partners there who are working to reduce crime among juveniles. Also, if you look at the second recommendation, it's also from Robert White, our DC council member at large. So our organization had the opportunity to work with the district attorney's office within the school system to try to address many of the issues that were happening, not only in the school, but were leading to issues happening in the community. As I stated, I started the program back in 2014. Let me see. Anyway, I'll go back. Yeah, I started the program in 2014 in Atlanta because they were facing many of the same challenges that many schools face due to COVID and prior to COVID. Many of the kids are dealing with crime, peer pressure, homelessness, a lot of social issues that are taking place in the home. They were bringing it into the school, not to mention gangs. So I wanted to give the kids an opportunity to think about life differently and to surround them with mentors who can help them visualize what life could be for them if they only had someone to talk to them. One of the things you mentioned, sir, was about the importance of kids being able to work with their hands, kinesthetic learning and things of that nature. I'm a big supporter of that. But one of the things that many of our kids are lacking is having individuals that come into the school who look like them, who actually have this profession or this skill set. Because one of the things that Ambassador Susan Rice said, if our children can't see it, they don't know that they could be it. So it's very important that kids of all color are able to see themselves in those individuals who have those jobs that you mentioned. So I think that's very important. Not just see it, but actually have the opportunity to engage with individuals like you, to have a conversation with you, rather than see you on TV. That conversational piece, or them having access to someone like you, could be a game changer and could be a life changer. And I know that it would have been one for me had I had the opportunity to meet someone like you at that age. All right. One of our goals for our program, reduce school violence. We know that was a big issue. September 10th of last year, it was all over the news, Buffalo News, about the incidents that happened at Niagara Falls High School. Our program is designed for these type of issues. We have what we call VIs, violent interrupters. These are individuals embedded within our program who are designed to mediate issues that could lead to it spilling in the school as well as out of the school. The program also designed to increase attendance and retention of those students, as well as improve school correctness and engagement, because we want our students to not only just come to school, but we want them to be active participants in the classroom lesson that's being given. Our program for 9th through 12th graders is known as the Men of McNair. It's named after Dr. Ronald E. McNair. You may or may not have heard of him. He was an astronaut that passed away in 1986. He was a scientist who passed away in the Space Challenger.
The Challenger, right?
Yep, Space Challenger. This program is designed for 9th to 12th graders. The primary focus, as I mentioned, school violence, leadership development, conflict resolution, peer tutoring, high impact tutoring, and college and career readiness. Our mentors actually help the kids to navigate through many of the issues that they are facing within the school system. Our newest program is known as the Serena program. This program is designed to assist our young girls by empowering them. We know that if we can raise the standards of the young women, that the men will follow, and that they, in turn, have a lot of power and persuasion in a lot of the correctness that we hope will take place in many of the schools in our children's lives. These young women have mentors who this program is designed for women in grades 9 to 12 as they face increasing environmental and social pressures. It's designed to also help foster a sisterhood and build self-esteem through group and peer mentoring, academic support, character and leadership development, and college and career readiness. So I had the opportunity to speak with Ms. Urban of LaSalle Middle School, as well as Ms. Villardo. And one of the things that came out of these discussions was that, that the Men of McNair would be perfect for LaSalle Middle School. She said, Mr. Wright, can you start today? I said, oh, there's a process. I have to talk to Mr. Laurie. And I had the opportunity to talk to Ms. Villardo about the program, and she said, I think the Serena program would be a benefit to our school. It would be excellent for our young ladies here in the school. And my goal is to assist each of these schools, our city, our district, in reaching the goals that you guys had laid forth.
I have a question for you. Do you have a timeout room at all for the children that have a problem that day?
Excuse me, can you say that again?
A timeout room.
Do you have a timeout room for the children that might be having a bad day?
For our PTE program? Yes, we do. We do have a timeout room. So sometimes what ends up happening, I tell the kids, before you act out with the teacher or anything of that nature, I need you to self-regulate. And I'm giving you permission to step out of the classroom quietly. And you can walk out the hallway. We have a security member there. And what they normally do is that they sit there with that security member. I'm constantly out there in the hallway. I may pull them, and we may just go for a walk and have a little conversation to discuss what's going on with them. And that normally settles them down, allows them to have that time to self-regulate, and then re-enter the classroom without disturbing the instructional time that's going on.
I think we need one of those rooms for board members.
I'll take you for a walk, Russ. Now, I had this nice shirt, 33, 32. I can't wear it. It's blue. I'm sorry. Oh, God.
But
Go ahead,
one,
Ray.
one last thing before I let you guys go. I want to share, because this is very important, because this program is not just a school initiative, it's a community initiative. And I know that I cannot do it alone. So I have surrounded myself with community members with high regard that I believe can assist me with pulling individuals from the community to be mentors for these young men and these young women. I'm blessed and fortunate that they have signed on to assist with this work. And I can assure you that if given an opportunity, we will be a game changer. My advisory board is Reverend Kelly. You may all know him from New Hope Baptist Church. The Reverend Raymond Allen, the Reverend Robert Bradley.
Oh, God.
Board
No.
member, Mr. Brooks. I'm Reverend Bradley.
No,
We know him?
no.
All right. Ms. Jennifer Brooks, she's the president of Bread and Water. Mr. Jeffrey Elder, I was told he might be here in attendance. I guess he didn't make it today. And Mr. Ezra Scott and Mr. Owen Steve. So I'd like to thank those members for, those advisory board members for being a part of this program and working to assist me as I try to assist you.
I have to say, we're moving on 7. We're ending 7 weeks tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
And everything that you said, I know you did the stats through 5 weeks. The last 2 weeks have been just as good. So we want to keep getting better. And it has been a wise and fruitful investment.
Absolutely.
Earl,
I just want to say I'm pretty excited about this program. There was a national convention in Philly, and there was a presentation on this style of alternative, I don't want to say alternative, but like similar to Pathway to Excellence. And I was trying to get like more information so we could bring it here. Then COVID hit, and it's great to see that we end up getting there now. So I'm excited, because I know when we had the kids over on 60th, some of those students did not need to be there, and they were bright kids that made poor decisions, and then you just saw the regression. So I just want to thank you personally for this, and I appreciate it.
And you make a great point. Bright kids. A lot of these kids are very smart. They're very smart. And one of the reasons this program is so personal to me, because my daughter went to 60th Street School. It was a complete failure for her. So you giving kids that look like my child an opportunity to be successful, thank you. Thank you.
I have a question.
Nick?
Yeah, just, you mentioned the counselor's door, she's very busy in that. Is there a need for 2 counselors for that program?
Yes.
I don't know if we can swing it or not, but I don't know if, you know.
Michelle is pretty good. She's superwoman.
You know, it seems like it might be a worthwhile investment.
Well, it's a good point, Mr. Velardo, because.
Or even half a day or something, you can
because
split them up someplace.
the trauma is not going to, she can't. It's got to be a team of 12 people addressing it, but the skills of a counselor certainly would help, and it's something we'll look at, yeah. Because you're right, even though I like Michelle, she is superwoman, she could use some help too. So the investment here is an investment in the future, it's an investment in the graduation rate, it's an investment in the reduction in crime and all those other things that this presentation started off with. So I think you're right on the mark, and I'm really happy. And Mr. Bass, you're 100% right in the thinking, and I'll just be blunt. Sometimes it was out of sight, out of mind. B, we couldn't get the resources there that we have in the school. And C, kids are in their home school, even though they may have initially resisted that hallway. Over time, they're in the same place that their peer group is. And there's really something to be said for that, I think. So this has got legs that are going to run for a while.
Microphone, Earl?
Mark?
What I was saying is this could be something that we could present at either like the state level or even at the national level. Absolutely.
I agree.
That program when I sat in on that session in Philly, I'm like, this is what we need.
Yep.
And it literally almost line by line, they had emotional support, mental health. There was everything that we have here. That's what they had, and I'm glad to see that we finally got it done.
The only thing I will say to that is, you could have a good program like that on paper. It's the human being. It's the Tony Riley, Michelle Hudson, Nick Ruffalo, I don't want to list them all. You could have any paper product you want, but if you don't have the people that believe in it and want to do it, it's a nice program. So it comes from having the right people there.
Nick?
Is it also possible to start a program like this, and do we have the same issue in prep schools?
Yes, they've
So
asked for it.
Can
Yes.
we expand this down?
Yes,
So I guess
yes. Yes. Initially, we were looking at 7 through 12, with a couple of different thoughts, Mr. Valero, maybe even bringing the 7th and 8th graders over there. But it's something that we have to look at this year for next year. But it is staff intensive, but the staff, it's worth it in the return we're going to get. But it's absolutely where we need to go, because that number of 99 may reduce, and we could do more. Yeah, yep. The downstream effect will really help. So the answer is yes.
Well, I'll also share this with you as well. There are students asking to get into PT.
That's interesting.
So I don't know if it'll reduce, because there are kids who understand that they learn in smaller, they work better in smaller learning environments.
Yeah.
So maybe, we
Oh,
can
you're
look at
right.
something
You're
that
right.
might not be.
Well, just my closing comment, because I know you made a reference, and the board did approve this last month, about the phys ed and the boxing. And it's, I'm happy to come and spar anytime you need someone. I have been known to spar, and
Well, so does Mike Capizzi, the two of you.
well, who do you think taught me? This is the guy that taught me. So I wouldn't put him against. He's pretty tough. Might not look it, but he's pretty tough. He's a good boxer. Mike is a good boxer.
Yeah, Nick and I, they definitely want a piece of us.
Yeah. Tony, I don't know you that well, but I want a piece of Nick. That's all I can tell you. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. Any other questions, colleagues?
Super nice job. We're a little bit pressed for time. I think Mr. President and members of the board, I'm going to try this, but I'll take as much time as you want. We only have about 15 minutes. I know there is a resolution that probably needs some dialogue. Are there any, Maria, do you have any adjustments on the personnel report that you'd like to discuss first?
There were some additions, but they were all stars.
Microphone.
Could you come to the mic?
There you go, just like the Price is Right. There we are.
That's okay, folks. I know I usually project very well, but Mr. Petrozzi asked me to use the microphone. So you all have the reports. They were starred, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. But there were just some additions as far as some new staff that we added and some new Schedule B and per diem.
None of the resolutions have changed from last week. We did not add, we had talked about an insurance walk-on. We did not add that insurance walk-on. So that is not new. If there are any questions about any other resolutions before Mr. Petrozzi, I think you might want some time on 620.
Yes, if I could go back to the personnel reports, Maria. If I certificated, what are the numbers? One through, what are the numbers?
I'm just going to look. I don't know it by heart.
No, I didn't know. I didn't think, no, the
that's
reaction
okay.
is I didn't think you knew what I was asking.
I didn't.
1 through 6 or,
So the personnel report certificated is items 1 through, it looks like, let's see. Okay. I think 11, I think we might have 12. Let me just see. Nope. I'm wrong.
see, Tony, you need that room, Tony.
1 through 13.
1 through 13?
Yeah, 1 through 13.
And how about the certificate?
And that's the certificated. And the
Okay. I'm
classified
sorry.
report is items 1 through 11.
I appreciate that.
No problem, thank you.
There was another question I heard from, was anyone else? No. My turn.
Your turn.
All right. Let's see, what number is it so we can all find it together?
I believe it's 620, but let me triple check too.
6.20.
6.20.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 620 is the resolution talking about virtual meetings. The last meeting, there is a resolution on the table that has recently been worked on with Angelo and Earl. It's changed. So this is going to be my recommendation, and please, if you're not following me, let me know. There's a resolution on the table that has been worked on and is different. I'm going to recommend to you, if you feel you're in favor of this, I would recommend you take it off the table and you do not act on it. Because it's not been acted on now, it's on the table. If you leave it on the table, Judy has to follow it forever. We take it off the table and don't act on it and don't put it into play, it dies. Where we place it with the resolution you have in front of you, which is 6.20. I'm trying to see which one, if I can. Well, let me finish. Go ahead, ask the question first.
I'll ask a question when you're done. I have a...
They all have the number one. That is the procedure to approve the resolution, which is number 2. Okay, it's the procedure of putting it into procedure, which we will, this is the procedure, which number 2 will then, we have a resolution for number 2, which will go on the tape, will go in Judy's office. The resolution will waive the 30-day tabling period, will go in Judy's office for comment, and then we'll call for in the resolution, it calls for a public hearing, which we will have at the next meeting. And then after the public hearing, we will vote on number 2, which is the resolution. Number 1 is the process to get to number 2. Number 2 is the actual resolution. I think I lost, if I lost anyone, did I lose somebody? They're marked. They're numbered on top, Jim. They're numbered on top. Now, if you're in favor that it would be the procedure to get to the public hearing, which would get to the resolution, then you would vote on it. No, you lost. Lost you? Okay. If you're not in favor of it, you have several options. You can just vote no when we put number 1 into play, and if there's not 5 votes, that'll be the end of it. If we do pass number 1, then you still have an opportunity to vote no after the public hearing, which would be the actual resolution. The first one allows us to get to the public hearing, look at the resolution, put it on in Judy's office for comment, get to the public hearing, listen to the public comment, and then vote on the resolution, the physical resolution, which is numbered, page number 2. I know it's confusing.
Mr. President, may I just simply say something?
Then it'll get more confusing. Sure, of course, Angelo. Microphone, Angelo.
Assuming we could get by the procedural aspect of it. Is it on? Assuming we can get by votes to take it off the table, votes to put it on the table, which one it was. The first resolution adopts the procedures for the video conferencing. The first resolution adopts procedures for the video conferencing. You can approve that resolution and don't go any further. You can disapprove that resolution and you can't have video conferencing. If you approve the resolution which gets the procedures, You can then at any time move to have your meetings remotely and with the procedures. And that's resolution number 2. Resolution number 2 recognizes that this board wants to hold their meetings, the voting meetings, wants to hold them according to the procedures that you approved in resolution number 1. And because you want to do that, you have to hold a public hearing. And resolution number 2 directs you to hold a public hearing and has attached to it the resolution that you will approve should you want video conferencing after the public hearing. So I think it's like a policy. You first adopt the procedures, which is resolution number 1. And then if you feel you want to implement remote meetings, you go to resolution number 2 and you call a public hearing for November 17th. And then when November 17th comes, if you feel you want to have remote meetings, you approve the resolution that's attached to number 2. I hope that's a little clearer.
Questions? That was good, Angelo.
I'll bring my question up at the time we're going to vote on the resolution. When you ask for questions on the motion, I'll ask my question.
I can't hear you, Mr.
He's going to.
I have a question, but I'm going to bring it up when we vote on it. Now, when there's questions on the motion, I'll make my ask my question then.
Okay.
You may be called upon, Angelo. It's a legal term. Otherwise, I'll have Mr. Rossetti answer it. I'll have Mr. Rossetti answer it. I'll give me a short answer.
Yeah, that way we might make the 9th inning. Anybody else? Clear?
I just want to pass it. Let's go.
Okay, there are no more questions on that. So Mark, you may finish your job.
Unless you have questions on the other resolutions, we have about 2 or 3 minutes before 7 o'clock.
Gentlemen, want a 5-minute break, or you want to just? Yeah, we just do the. Wait, I'm sorry, Nick, I didn't hear what you said. Okay, well, we could start by the pledge of the flag. Okay, we only have one speaker. Is this on an agenda item, Gloria, or not? Okay, so then that'll go at the end then. No, I just want to make sure I put you, okay, why don't we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Go. Let's do it. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we will now have a prayer by Mrs. Dunn.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, creator and source of all things good, you have showered us with greatness to do your will. Thank you for all your gifts and blessings, and may these gifts multiply and that everyone in our community can benefit from them. We thank you, Lord, for all your blessings and give you praise and honor. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Mrs. Dunn. Judy, would you call the roll, please?
I will. Mr. Bass.
Present.
Mr. Bilson. Here. Mr. Consemi. Here. Mr. Capizzi. Here. Mrs. Dunn. Here. Mr. Cudella.
Excused.
Mr. Pareto.
Here.
Mr. Velardo. Here. Mr. Petrosi.
Here.
8 present.
Thank you very much, Judy. Getting started, any oral communications on agenda items? Thank you. Any written communications?
You have a thank you note there from the family of David Spicone.
Okay, we have a thank you from, is that what?
on
We
your
have a
left
thank you from family of Mr. Spicone, and here it is right here. I will pass that around, that everyone can take a look. Thank you, Mr. Katsami. Okay, thank you, Judy. Moving on. 4.01 and 4.02 we'll take together. 401 is the minutes for September 22, and 4.02 is budget transfer number 3. Motion, please. Mr. Velardo. Mr. Pareto, any questions? Call the roll, please.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you. 4.03, approval of the following bids. We have one on facility paint supplies. Thanks, Mr. Consemi. Second by Mr. Pareto. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass?
Yes.
Mr. Bilson? Yes. Mr. Consemi? Yes. Mr. Capizzi?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn? Yes. Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Yes. Mr. Petrosi?
Yes. Thank you very much. We have on 4.04 the treasurer's report, and on 4.05 the budget status report. They are both received and filed. Moving on to personnel report, certificated 4.06 items 1 through 13.
Move.
I think the motion was by Mr. Consemi, second by Mr. Pareto. Questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass?
Yes.
Mr. Bilson? Yes. Mr. Consemi? Mr. Capizzi?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn? Yes. Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Mr. Petrosi?
Yes.
Approved.
Personnel report, classified items 1 through 11, please. Thanks, Mr. Pareto. Mr. Consemi on the second. Questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass?
Yes.
Mr. Bilson? Yes. Mr. Consemi? Yes. Mr. Capizzi?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn? Yes. Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Yes. Mr. Petrosi?
Yes, thank you very much. Just for the audience, we are hopefully going to move through these rather quickly. I just want you to know that we've spent hours on these items. We are now just taking the final vote. We're going to take 4.08 and 4.09. They're from the Committee on Special Ed and Preschool Special Ed. Motion, please. Mr. Consemi on the motion. Mrs. Dunn on the second. Questions? Call the roll, please.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion's carried.
I thank you again. 4.10, we have several short-term contracts. I'll abbreviate. Father and Son Center, Rick and Allison Moore. Nazarene Ashker for Cultural Awareness. Dr. Maria Fonzie Kadowski, support for our medical director. Niagara Alliance for Restorative Practices, Windsor Learning Incorporated, NCS Pearson Training, James K. Denver, Rachel Schneider, Licensed Behavioral Analyst. That's not for the board, is it?
Never.
Rachel Schneider, Licensed Behavior, I said that, I'm sorry. Clark Patterson Lee for our Walk of Fame. Alberti Center for Bullying, See-Through Math, that's worth Carrie Sino, and Ann Kent Kwalandowski. Motion, please. I have a motion from Mr. Consemi, second by Mr. Bass. Any questions on any of those? No, there was a lot. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass?
Yes.
Mr. Bilson? Yes. Mr. Consemi? Mr. Capizzi?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn? Yes. Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Yes. And Mr. Petrosi?
Yes, thank you very much. 411, the Head Start reports. Motion, please. Mr. Velardo, appreciate it, along with Mr. Bilson on the second. Questions? Call the roll, please.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you very much. We do not have any unfinished business. Well, actually, we do, but we'll take it under new business. New business, 6.01, acceptance of funds for the Smart Schools Early College High School.
Move.
Mr. Bilson, second by Mr. Pareto. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass?
Yes.
Mr. Bilson? Yes. Mr. Consemi? Yes. Mr. Capizzi?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Yes. Mr. Petrosi?
Yes, thank you very much. The 6.02, acceptance of the 21-22 annual independent audit and filing thereof with the Commissioner of Education, which we went over tonight. Mr. Bilson on the motion. Second, Mr. Consemi. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass?
Yes.
Mr. Bilson? Mr. Consemi? Mr. Capizzi?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn? Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Mr. Petrosi?
Yes, thank you very much. 6.03 is the approval to buy cybersecurity insurance. Mr. Prato and Mr. Bilson on the second. Questions? Comment? I'm glad we did this. This is a type of insurance that's becoming very, very costly, and we need to keep an eye and try to keep it in force because many companies are abandoning the writing of these policies. The government's going to have to step. The government caused it by their high fines. Their fines of if they're found negligent, and it's pretty easy, or I shouldn't say easy. It's quite common. So the insurance companies are paying lots of claims. So therefore, the rates are going up. Just a comment. I have a motion and second. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass?
Yes.
Mr. Bilson?
Yes.
Mr. Consemi? Mr. Capizzi?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn? Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo?
Yes.
Mr. Petrosi?
Yes, thank you very much. 6.04 to 6.12, these are some various contracts. First one was Avena for an amendment for our COVID testing. Second one is with us and CCNY Incorporated. And the next one, 6.06, is Creative Therapies. 6.07, Marshall Wilson. 6.08, Game and Entertainment. 6.09, See-Through Math, LLC. 6.10, State University of New York, on behalf of UB. 6.11, LaSalle Early Childhood Center. 6.12, Teaching Strategies. Motion, please. Motion was Mr. Prato. Second was Mr. Velardo. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass?
Yes.
Mr. Bilson?
Yes.
Mr. Consemi? Mr. Capizzi?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn? Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo?
Yes.
Mr. Petrosi?
Yes, thank you. Well, I'm going to take 6.13 first. It's a resolution for specifying the necessity for a $29,342,500 bond issue for the reconstruction and construction of improvements on our school facilities. That's the project we talked about to rebuild our vestibules and et cetera, et cetera. I had a motion by Mr. Pareto. Second by Mr. Velardo. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass?
Yes.
Mr. Bilson? Yes. Mr. Consemi? Mr. Capizzi?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Mr. Petrosi?
Thank you. Yes. I'm going to take the 6.15 to 6.18 together. 1.5 is providing for the holding of a special school district meeting and a public referendum for the vote. It's a capital project vote. Referendum for the appointment of board registration, designation of day, hours, place of registration. That's for our election. Approval appointment of voting machine custodians. Approval of the resolution regarding statutory meeting.
Hey, Russ.
Yes, sir.
We didn't do 6.14.
My apologies. We'll take the ones I just voted on. We'll take those, and thanks for the correction. Okay, so we have a motion on 1.5 to 1.8. Oh, wait, I didn't take the vote on that one. My apologies. Okay. We're going to take the ones 1.5 to 1.8 that I just read, and I'll go back to 1.14. Okay? Motion by Mr. Consemi. Second by Mr. Velardo. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass?
Yes.
Mr. Bilson? Yes. Mr. Consemi? Mr. Capizzi?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Mr. Petrosi?
Yes, thank you very much, and I apologize for that error. 6.14 is the resolution authorizing the issuance of the $29,342,500 serial bonds. Motion on that, please. I think we had a motion.
No, that was
did not.
1-3.
We did not?
Yeah, we
Okay. Call, the motion in a second. He's the motion. Thank you, Mr. Bass. Mr. Consemi, questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass?
Yes.
Mr. Bilson? Yes. Mr. Consemi? Mr. Capizzi?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn? Yes. Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? And Mr. Petrosi?
Yes, and thank you very much. 6.9 is the approval of payments to the New York State Association of Small City Schools for the legal fees. Mr. Velardo.
Second.
Mr. Bass, questions? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bass?
Yes.
Mr. Bilson? Yes. Mr. Consemi?
Microphone, Jim.
Mike,
I think we have to stay with it, even though we just said no. But I can see the reasoning that our superintendent had the presentation to us, and thank him for that. And let's say yes.
Mr. Capizzi?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Mr. Petrosi?
Yes, thank you very much. 6.20, motion to take off the table, resolution that we put on the table last meeting. No, my recommendation is to take it off the table, replace it with the resolution in front of you, otherwise Judy's got to track it forever.
So I move to take it off.
You're going to take it off the table, got a motion in a second, take it off the table?
Who was the second?
Second was Mr. Consemi.
Thank you.
Call the roll, please, individually.
Mr. Bass?
Yes.
Mr. Bilson? Yes. Mr. Consemi? Yes. Mr. Capizzi? Yes. Mrs. Dunn? Yes. Mr. Pareto?
yes.
Mr. Velardo? Yes. Mr. Petrosi?
Yes.
It is off the table,
Anybody want to act on that resolution?
on the table.
Okay, Mr. Bass, I think what you want to do is make a motion to mark the resolution.
620,
Number one, that's it.
The approval of the procedures and waiving the 30-day requirement. So, someone make a motion to approve 620, number one, the procedures.
I move that we act on 620, number 1, the procedures for video conferencing.
Okay, I have a motion and I have a second.
I second.
Well, I had one already, Mike, I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem.
Tony's been waving the flag over here. Any questions?
So number 2, we're going to vote on after this, correct?
Yes, that will, with everyone's pleasure, yes, sir. We're voting on the procedure in order to get to video conferencing or get to the point to vote on video conferencing is the correct term. Okay, call the roll individually, please.
Mr. Bass?
Yes.
Mr. Bilson? Yes. Mr. Consemi?
Yes.
Mr. Capizzi?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
You could pass and go last.
Abstain.
Okay.
So noted. Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Yes. Mr. Petrosi?
Before I vote, I have a comment. I'm fine with the procedure. I'm not fine with video conferencing. I believe that people need to be at the meetings, need to be seen, you need to talk among yourselves. But I also understand the difficulty for some people, to make all the meetings. Saying that, I'm willing to give it a shot to go through the procedure. I'm willing to listen to the public, and I'm very, very possibly maybe willing to vote yes at the end result. But I also, this is a emergency. This is when something comes up. I ask and I preach, or I do everything I ask. Please do not make this a way of life. It's no way to, in my opinion. It's very difficult to run a meeting. It's very difficult with the delays. And I understand the issues we face, and I'm willing to go forward with this. I just wanted to make that for the record. Saying that, anybody else? Call a roll, please, individually. Oh, I voted, I'm last, yes.
7 in favor, 1 abstention.
Sometimes you want to vote twice, that's what happens
okay.
usually. Okay, moving on. I need, with your pleasure, item number 2, the second part of 620, to pass, to put in Judy's office, the actual resolution for public comment, that'll also waive the 30-day tabling, and it also will call for a public hearing. That is what the second part of this resolution, if we have a motion. Mr. Bass, on the resolution, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second, Mr. Capizzi. Any questions? Yes. Yes, sir.
This probably goes to our attorneys, and it's on the procedure of video conferencing meetings. That's the title of the page, section G. Okay, you want me to read it, or do you want to read it, Angela? No, go ahead. It says, section G states that the board shall provide the opportunity for members of the public to view the meeting using video conferencing via video and participating in the proceedings via video conference in real time with public comment or participation as authorized, and shall ensure video conferencing authorities the same public participation or testimony as in-person participation or testimony. So how are we going to do that if somebody is video conferencing, a community member is video conferencing, and there's a board member video conferencing? How are they going to ask questions directly to that person? I mean, I know it's a technical thing here, but to me, it doesn't. It doesn't. And it seems a big, very confusing and not very clear on the procedure. Pardon me, Angela?
The wording is the wording in the statute 103A.
Yeah.
It is not the attorney's wording. My interpretation of that wording, which is in the statute, is that the public can participate here, and that would be participating in the video conferencing in real time. There has to be a place where a majority of the board will meet in order for if you have video conferencing. It isn't like during the pandemic where you could have been all over where you were. But there has to be one place where the majority.
I get all that. I get all that. You can go after it, but I just don't get the point or the part. Maybe I'm reading something into it, or I'm missing something. But it seems that also that the public has a chance to participate via video conferencing also.
No.
Yeah, well, yeah, but
Microphone, Angelo, please.
No.
Can I?
Well,
I think what Nick is saying is the way that this is written is if a member of the public is remote, that they can participate remotely.
I don't think that's the intention of it.
That's what he was.
that's the way it seems to be written here.
Well,
Or maybe I'm misinterpreting it. That's why I'm
It specifically says that.
I'm sorry.
correct.
It specifically says that, Angela.
That he'll participate in real time.
Yes.
Via
Via
video conferencing.
Via video conferencing.
Again,
think,
my interpretation of that is standing at this podium.
Well, it doesn't seem
Would
to be
be-
my interpretation of it, because
Well,
it seems like
I
it's somebody's
understand
video.
that, Mr. Velardo.
We'll have
Now-
to take it to court. That's what attorneys do, don't we, Angela?
okay.
No, we could try to amend it for clarity. And my suggestion is, let us move forward, we'll work on some wording.
Well,
But I'm always a little concerned when the statute is very precise to try to change it then. Then you would be defending our interpretation rather than defending the statute itself.
Well, it would have to be precise in order for me to vote on this, and this is not precise, and I'm not going to vote on this for wording later on. That's just my view.
What would your pleasure be? Do you want to amend the
I don't want
procedure?
to, I'm just asking for clarification on the way this is written.
We don't want, we don't want it.
And the way I interpret it
We-
is
well,
entirely different. I
we-
think Mr. Bilson interprets it the same way I do, but.
Fine. I wonder, though, what type of clarification? I'm sure you're not asking that it be tested in the courts for
Well, no,
clarification.
I was joking, but
Right.
what I'm getting at is if somebody is watching this video conferencing.
I do not interpret it that they'd have to have video conferencing at their home to participate. I don't think
way
it's
this
the
is written, it
intent.
is.
Now, we could write to the legislature and see what their intent was when they enacted that section. The best I can do right now is give you my opinion
Yeah, I
of
know.
it.
And I think the way this was, I could be wrong.
Right.
But the way I think when this was written, it was during COVID, and everybody was teleconferencing, the public and the board.
Very well could have been.
Yeah,
But
so
I think
that's
we're
the way-
better off going with the wording from the statute than suggesting our own wording.
Well, that's what it is, it's not
Yes,
the
that's what I'm
statute.
saying.
Yeah.
Sometimes the wording, if you read it literally, really doesn't apply. It would give the people more power. It would give them more power when everybody's here. They can't ask a question. But why would they have more power when someone's not here? See, it doesn't make
Well,
sense. I mean, I understand.
the way it's written,
You're reading it right.
yeah, but it also says to make public comment, and they can't make public comment via video conferencing.
If everybody was here, could they make public comment?
If they put their name down, yeah, they can.
Well, no, I mean, all the board members were here.
Yeah.
Someone's watching it as a video conference. Could they make public comment?
I don't know, that's what I'm asking.
No, physically, could they do it? There's no ruling for it now.
Well, I mean, we're talking about two different things. I mean,
You give the public more power when someone misses a meeting than when everybody's here. Because when everybody's here, the whole audience doesn't have a right to participate, virtually.
yeah, because,
Now, if someone's not here, they have that power. Does that make sense?
no, well, I don't know. I don't know either. I'm just saying, it doesn't, this whole thing doesn't.
The public can go to the place where the meeting is held, and there are 5 individuals that have to be there from this board, for the majority of the board, and they can participate at that meeting. Now, how they participate, I'm going from our past practice, is that the basis is here with the microphone and participating, giving their views. Again, when I looked at it, even if it is confusing, I'd rather defend the statute than defend this board's interpretation of the statute, should it come. So what's our option? Our option is moving forward, or the motion being made to amend it and directing the attorneys to come in with amended language, which I don't think is necessary, Mr. Velardo, because I see the clarity of it, in my opinion.
Well, I don't,
And
and
I
that's
know
my
you don't.
opinion, so
No, I
we'll go
know you
from
don't.
there. So I
And
don't
neither
need
does
more
Mr.
clarity.
Bilson, as I gather.
Okay. I went by my counselor, Mr.
You just heard from your counsel.
I think I definitely see, I definitely see what Nick's point.
I do too.
I definitely do. I'm in no way interested in voting for a resolution that's going to allow video conferencing to the public. You know, I'm not doing that. So I think, you know, I don't think that's is that anybody's intention here? No, Nick, you can always make an amendment to word that.
If you vote for the next meeting at the 17th, and you want to implement the video conferencing, you have the right to amend the procedures at that time.
Well, it'll give us a chance to
Right, to
discuss
think
it.
about it.
Well, it'll give us another chance to discuss it at the
Right.
work session to make sure it's clear in everybody's mind and we can move on at that point to either amend it or after the public hearing decide what we're going to do. Okay, good points. Any other points? Anybody else? Okay, call the roll.
Mr. Bass?
Yes.
Mr. Bilson?
No.
Mr. Consemi? Mr. Capizzi?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
No.
Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo?
I brought I could see some use for this if people are out sick and everything else, but this one section I mentioned, I vote no, as long as that's in there.
And Mr. Petrosi?
No.
All right, motion defeated.
Okay. 6 point, where are we now? 7.01. We do not have, we do have one, education of students in temporary housing. Motion, please. Mr. Velardo, second. 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 Thank you. Mrs. Dunn, questions?
Yeah, I apologize, I'm not familiar with that thing, I must have missed it. Can you give me some information on that, Superintendent?
Sure, Rick. This is to satisfy a requirement of Title I to provide students who are part of the McKinney-Vento, as I recall, Rick.
Yes. We have to have a policy for parent engagement and also for taking a look, we have 3 policies that we had to formulate. What is the number for this again?
This is education of students in temporary housing. I believe this is for parent engagement of students who are under the McKinney-Vento. We've got to engage. Interesting statistic. We have currently 283 homeless students. 283 homeless students, the highest number of homeless students we've ever had in the district. This policy fulfills a requirement to receive our Title I money, which is about $5 million, that says, despite the fact that kids are in temporary housing, shelters, hotels, not in permanent housing, we will still do everything we can to engage the parents in their education. And we have been cited in an audit of Title I, not for money, but because we don't have this formal policy on the books. And of course, we will engage parents no matter where they live, and that's why I recommend that we approve this policy.
I second it.
I think we had a second.
Pardon me? We have to engage parents in the students' education, even if they're living in temporary housing. We can't use it as an excuse.
Okay.
We have to reach out to parents who might be living at the Bit of Paris Hotel, of which we have quite a few, by the way, or other places down the boulevard. So we have to intentionally show that we will make efforts to reach we call them McKinney-Vento, that's the name of the law that asks for this, that we will make intentional efforts to reach our homeless parents.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Call the roll, please. Question. Call the roll.
Mr. Bass?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Consemi? Mr. Capizzi?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn? Yes. Mr. Pareto?
Yes.
Mr. Velardo? Yes. And Mr. Petrosi?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on to the public comment period. For non-agenda items, Gloria Dolson, please. State your name and address, please. And if you would kindly limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Gloria Dawson, 1502 Ontario Avenue, Niagara Falls, New York. First of all, I'm so honored to become before this board and speak. I didn't know that we had a meeting tonight that members of the community could speak, but thank God. And I also want to thank Mr. Petrosi firsthand for being such a great MC. Men Standing Strong had this welcoming for Mr. Riley. I thank you, Mr. Lowry, for his support and those that attended. You know,
I'll give you 30 seconds more for that.
well, I have to do this more often then. Truly, Mr. Petrosi, he did an awesome job. Many persons that were there were very pleased to see some some of our board members, especially our president, coming into the community. And it's a great feeling to see some of our board members and persons coming. We know that you can't attend all meetings, but we do appreciate it. And we see that it is a change in Niagara Falls. It's great to see our staff working together. We are impressed about what's going on at Niagara Falls High School. And we are very thankful for Mr. Riley, because it is, even the statistics show that we have more African Americans in this program than any other person. So it's great to see someone that looks like them, that can relate to them. And it's also great to see the staff working so closely together. That's the only way change will work, if we work together. And so because they did such an awesome job, I baked a sweet potato pie, so I hope all of them got a chance to taste it. I again just want to say that Ms. Stanley Strong together, we are in the community. We're at Abbott School. We did such a great job in Niagara Falls High School. They booted us out. But we're nice. So we're in Abbott. Here we have Abbott School. And I must say the staff is doing a great job there. Students don't bring their cell phones. I can pat the parents on the back about that, because they feel that their children are safe. And all of us should feel the same way, that children are safe. When they leave home and come to those who are educating them, that they feel that they're in the best place. But I do think that this program, the one that we just talked about, Pathway to Excellence, I don't think that it's widely known to the public and the parents as it could be. And maybe it's a way that we can get it more information into the community, so that parents do not have that resistance, or students would look forward to coming to school and being a part. Because sometimes when you get so far behind, you just don't think it's a way to catch up. And I think that some maybe feel though that that's the point. They just won't be able to catch up. So, but it's important for everyone to feel as though they can be successful. So I think that program speaks to just that, success. And we do need more electricians. I hope that you stay on a little while longer, even though you haven't been to my home to do anything. But you know, we do need more. Just everyone's not going to college, and we all know that. And some that have a college degree, we still know that they're not employed. But when you have a skill, you are employed. Because we have so much in this building and homes and all that. Everything requires someone with skill. So thank you very much, and thank you, Mr. Lawrence.
You're welcome.
You've been a blessing.
Thank you.
You got an extra 30 seconds for promoting the promoting the electricians. That won't happen again. All right, thank you, Gloria. Comments from the superintendent.
Thank you very much, Gloria. I will make it part of my next letter to the editor and put it in the next edition of Our Schools as a start. Your point's well taken. I refuse to put the fact that Mr. Petrozzi was a good MC in any one of my letters, though. His sense of humor, I thought, was rather dry, like toast. I want to commend this board and, again, our finance staff on a unqualified, clean, without recommendation audit. Congratulations, public. You should know that your money is being spent with care and for the proper purposes. That's number one. Congratulations. I just want to talk mainly about a lot of upcoming events, and our Men Standing Strong have an event tomorrow at Abbott. They have a movie night. We're encouraging elementary children and guardians to get there. Also, this Monday, I'm a little bit out of dates, Monday, November 7th, our chorus is practicing, and I just want to give kudos to our cook, Kevin. We often provide dinners for football teams and others, but he's providing dinner for our chorus, 80 members of our chorus, which I think is a nice gesture to the high school kids and well-deserved. Our historically black college tour will again take place this year. 24 students, 8 chaperones. Mr. Bass, we thank you. It will be November 5th, 6th, and 7th. They're going on a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and we'll get a report back from them. Beginning on Monday, our evolved weapons detection system will begin being installed in all of our elementary schools. So I hope that gives parents at our elementary schools even more of a peace of mind that you as board members have taken this step forward to support their protection. And that goes along with the capital projects we'll be talking more about. I want to not allow the incident, the unfortunate incidents that happened in both North Tonawanda and Kenmore with our students not come to your attention about our continued work with them. We have a meeting where our small group is traveling to North Tonawanda next Thursday at 1:30. That is a follow-up meeting from our initial meeting. We have a number, at that time we will establish dates for a number of inter-district activities, including our district champion team. These are students, you met them before, plus athletes who will go and meet with the North Tonawanda team in a facilitated discussion. We've been invited to Lewiston Porter on January 30th, and other districts have been calling to bring our champion teams. In addition to that, we will plan a shadowing day. Also on the agenda for that day from the North Tonawanda superintendent was his response to how they can have more culturally responsive curriculum, and we will hear about that. My point is, I'm going to keep this board abreast and the public abreast of those unfortunate incidents, not to replay them, but to let you know that I will not let that go. I will not let a month go without reporting what activities were going to take place across districts. More to come, but our meeting is on the 27th, and then you'll see action. Niagara Falls High School will also start to see some kids who are shadowing them from other school districts, so they could see how good our school, how well our school is run, and how great our kids are. As a matter of fact, we also had an offer today to bring a group of students together from North Tonawanda and our district to tour the Underground Railroad. And I think that would be another good activity you're going to see in the month of November, with our students and chaperones coming together with North Tonawanda students and chaperones and having a facilitated discussion at the Underground Railroad. We are honoring our English as a new language parents on Wednesday at Kelfus at 6 o'clock. Don't forget our first drama program is November 4th, 5th, and 6th at Niagara Falls High School on Golden Pond. November 8th is Election Day, and that is a full remote learning day. Full remote learning day. Why? 8 of our 11 schools are used as polling sites. And we've spent hours and hours, dollars and dollars on security and safety, and I respect the right to vote, but I also want to make sure that we are completely safe, and we also need a good practice of remote learning. I wanted to tell you that I met with members of the building trades who watched your video from last week's meeting when they went through all those projects, and they know we're moving on a project labor agreement. They wanted to extend their thank you to this board for continuing not only to make your schools better, but for using local union labor. And they are so pleased that you have acted tonight to extend that, if it passes, all of that trades work in our schools to make them better. And finally, at the conclusion, Mr. Petrozzi, I'll ask you for an executive session, and I'll read the reasons at that time. Thank you very much for your support also of all those important resolutions and personnel.
Thank you very much. Okay, which side of the table are we starting at today? The new side? Okay. Mr. Bass. I'm going to start with Mrs. Dunn.
I get that.
Mr. Capizzi.
I'm going to pass that, but thank you very much.
No problem.
It's efficient meeting, Russ. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Mr. Bass. Mr. Villardo.
Well, I just want, I think Becky left. Rebecca left, and I talked to her after the meeting, and I told her that she's not only doing a good job, but she's a good leader in her department because she gave credit to Julie and the rest of her staff for doing a good job and didn't take any credit herself. And that's a sign of a good leader, not only a good financial person, but a good leader. And I thank you, Julie, and the rest of the staff for your part in getting this audit go through smoothly. And that's all. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Mr. Bilson.
Just appreciative of everyone that had a hand in our presentations this evening, the work and the results that were presented to us. Thank you for the well-detailed information. Great job to the audit committee and everyone involved today with that. And again, another great job by Mark and your staff. And that's it. Hope you all have a great weekend.
Thank you, Mr. Bilson. Mr. Kinsemi.
Again, kudos to Becky and her staff and Julie and Tom. Thank you. Niagara Falls, again, goes out in first place. That's something we should all be very proud of. There's a lot happening and a lot of people talking, but I'll tell you one thing, when they hear Niagara Falls High School now, they do listen. And I think all my board members and my superintendent and the leadership qualities that he has expressed and shown to the staff that we all are in this together. Tonight's presentation to me was very, 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 very informative. Most of you know that I taught special ed 20 years and I never heard of anything like this. It's what we needed. We knew it works, but we never had anybody that would help us get it going. Mr. Laurie, I thank you. I thank you for your wisdom and your foresight. And I thank you for the kids that are going to achieve. Because without that, they would probably be failures and just troublemakers. And you know it, and I know it. Once you disrupt the class for half an hour, it's gone for the day. Right? Tony, keep pushing for the trades. Keep pushing for the trades because it's so important. Mr. Petrozzi, for Christ's sakes, will you get him a shirt? And Mr. Laurie with his name on it. Thank you.
Thanks, Jimmy. Tony.
Okay, I'd like to thank our financial team, Rebecca and everybody, Jacqueline. You guys did a fantastic job. No findings, that's huge. Mr. Riley, Mr. Ruffalo, and team also very impressed with the program we have. As for if you need my assistance in anything with my friends from trades, I am just a phone call away. And if I was retired, I would come and volunteer my time and help mentor these kids. Everything from showing them how to do simple things to whatever. But if I can get somebody in place of me, I will do it. And I will try to help you build your program so it is well-rounded, and it sounds like it is now, and it'll be even more well-rounded. Again, thank you for all the staff involved. A good, smooth opening to school, and now we're into the end of October. But Wolverines, we play Orchard Park tomorrow night in Orchard Park. God help us. And I just pray there's no Orchard Park referees there. It's going to make it a really long
That's an understatement, Tony.
Yeah. Maybe after I leave this board someday, whenever that is, I don't know. I can maybe get placed on the Section 6 board.
Yeah,
maybe I can stop some of this.
I wouldn't do that to you. I like you too much.
Well, maybe I can stop some of this home cooking that goes on, and some of this, and on a serious note, and maybe we can stop some of this terrible treatment that our school and some other schools are getting, and districts. But on that note, thank you very much.
Appreciate it, Tony. Leaving just myself very quickly. Thank you, staff, Julie and Becky, and thank everyone else because I know it's a team effort. Richard and everybody, Earl and Rich. It's everybody. Rick. It's everybody. It's everybody. I wanted to thank you, and thank you for a quick meeting. We are going to adjourn tonight. We're going to need an executive session, Mark, for
For two purposes. There will be no action needed after we come out of executive session. The two purposes are for a personnel matter which may lead to the suspension, dismissal, or removal of a person, and also a brief discussion on negotiations that are protected, collective bargaining negotiations that are collected under the Taylor Law with two of our collective bargaining units. Those are the reasons we need the executive session.
And Mark, if I can add to that, contracts, I have an item too.
And a contract?
Yeah, it'll be short. Okay, saying that,
Coming out of this? Yes. Yes.
is it voted out in public?
We would have to come out of executive session? Okay.
Okay, so there may be an item, action is taken, okay, for the correction. Okay, I'm going to read, after the executive session, we will adjourn in the memory of the following people: John Condino, brother of former District Safety Director Richard Condino, retired special education teacher Dominic Contento, husband of Joan Contento, father of Noel Contento, and uncle to Amanda LaChance. And we will adjourn in their memory after the executive session. Motion to go in executive session, please. Moved by Mr. Bilson, second by Mr. Consemi. Call the roll, please.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Good night, everybody. Thank you.